I want to share with you actually today what I did in order for me to finish my 90,000 word manuscript on my first book. Oh my gosh, 90,000 words. If you want some reference, the Hobbit is around 86,000 words. So it wasn't short, and it took me about 10 months to do this. And probably around month 4 and 5, I got into this lull and I was second guessing whether or not I should continue this project. But what kept me going are some of these tips that I want to share with you. So tip number 1 is find your ideal time to write. So in the very beginning, when you first start writing, just start writing for about a week and track what are the days and times that you typically like to write. And then notice during that time period, how many words you wrote. Tracking this, then you might start to see some patterns. Like, okay, well, I actually tend to write more in the morning than I do at night. When I first started, I just scheduled and blocked out. I thought, okay, every single day, I am going to write from 10 to 12 every single day. And what ended up happening was that 10 to 12, I was doing everything but writing. And I thought that I was a horrible person. I was like, oh, you're so undisciplined. But later on in the day, I noticed that I was naturally wanting to write. And so my period for writing came in anywhere between 2 and about 6 o'clock. And I actually saw and I noticed that my word count was way, way higher. So I suggest find an ideal time that is good for you, where you know that you're going to be in a great mental space, space where you have less distractions or things that are in your routine that just make it so much more ideal for you to start writing. My next tip is write in small sprints. And what I mean by that is, instead of thinking, okay, I am gonna, every single day I'm gonna write 10 hours and I'm gonna get this book done in 2 weeks, start out small. Start out with 25 minutes. Pomodoro sprints, those are great. Or, if you already have a pretty regular writing habit, then go ahead and switch that up to maybe 45 minutes or 50 minutes. Okay, these small little mini chunks help us get to that sense of accomplishment. And that's really key and critical early on to keep the momentum going when you're like, yes, 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 keep going. Now, maybe for you, you don't really necessarily want to do a time box. So maybe it's that you're setting small goals like, I'm going to write 200 words. Instead of thinking, oh my God, my daily goal is going to be, 2,000 words. When I first started out writing this manuscript, I had the intention of writing 1,000 words. And when I had my block, I was like, pause. Okay, I'm not writing anything. And I feel really shitty every single day that I'm not doing 1,000 words. And so I just had to do a little reversal, right? I did a little reversal and I said, okay, I'm going to start with writing 200 words a day. And what ended up happening was I went well over 200 words every day. And that's because that little segment, right, it got the ball going. And that's the most important thing, right, is that we're keeping momentum. So either time block yourself to small little sprints or do a little word count block where you're like, okay, my goal today is to do a 200 word minimum and then go from there. Now, this third tip I got from Tim Ferriss, and it's called FBR, okay? It is write fast, write bad, and write wrong. Just keep going, right? And there's a reason for that, because when we're driving on a highway, right, we use the best gas mileage. But when we're doing this stop and go, like with, oh, I need to change that comma, or I need to fix that sentence, or I need to do some research on this and this and this. Every single time we stop, it's like we're driving in the city where our gas mileage and our efficiency is really low. And we just want to keep going on that highway, right? And so write fast, write bad, and write wrong. Give yourself absolute permission. Editing, it's a completely different part of the writing process, and just let that be, okay? So right now, write. Quick question for you. How many of you guys have a project that you are in the middle of and you haven't touched it for a few weeks, or maybe even months, or maybe even years, right? If you do, go ahead and type it down below. And I'm gonna ask you, I am gonna follow up with you and see if any of these tips have helped you. Now, the last 2 tips that I have are a bit more mindset and process oriented. So Tip number 4 is share your writing. And you might be like, wait, why would I share my writing? Didn't you just tell me to do FBR, like write fast, bad, and wrong? So why would I, in my perfectionism, tell anybody or share my work with anybody? And let me just tell you this, it does not have to be good, it doesn't have to be great, it doesn't even have to be finished, but when we share our work, we are giving ourselves this opportunity to process, to have another voice, share and get responses. And honestly, what is the purpose of us writing in the first place? It's because we want to have conversation, right? So start having the conversation. For me, when I was having difficulties with a few chapters, I was like, I don't even know if I'm even on the mark. Where am I going? Does this just seem relevant to me? And I shared a few chapters with people and they were like, wow, gee, I really liked this chapter. It was a page turner. And then I had some other friends who, they would read another chapter and they were like, gee, I didn't really understand this. Like, what were you trying to say? And as they asked me this question, like of what I was trying to say, it became clear of like, oh, I really want to talk about this. And so I would write that and I would do another FBR section on it. I would just write. And that became actually something where it was like, no, it's not bad. It's not wrong. It's actually pretty good. Which leads me into my last tip, which is enjoy the process. As cliche as it sounds, really, why are we doing this in the first place? Is it because we are sadistic and, we just like to torture ourselves as writers? No, I actually think it's because we are very inquisitive. We want to discover something. We want to learn more about some particular area of interest, or perhaps it's even ourselves, right? For me, as I was writing this manuscript, it's actually a memoir, and I was discovering so many things about myself. There were moments of reconciliation for me and paths for just seeing a new perspective in life. And so celebrate along the way the fact that you did 200 words, that you wrote for 25 minutes today, or celebrate the fact that you did FBR, you wrote fast, you wrote bad, and you wrote wrong. And embrace it, because in there are these pieces of gold. There are these nuggets of inspiration and wisdom that are likely going to help you move forward in another project. And it's all about the big picture, right? In the grand scheme of things, what are we doing this for in the first place? Like, why are we even creating? It's because we want to be creating conversations, we want to be learning, we want to be growing, and we want to make the world just a little bit more interesting, right? So if you found this video interesting, or perhaps you learned something, please do hit that like button. And also feel free to subscribe so you can stay tuned with more things on creativity in your business, in your flow, and we'll see you next time. Bye.